Am I the asshole? I insulted my wife in front of my family. I and my wife have been married for 8 years. She told me she wants to be a stay-at-home wife when we got married because she didn't like her job that much. Don't mind me putting emphasis on wife because I screwed that up last time. I was okay with it since I earned enough for the both of us. My mum had to drop out of school because she lost her parents at a young age and she had to do manual labor to send her siblings to school. The Indian government then did not have any concessions for orphaned kids. She had the choice to either go to school herself or send her siblings to school. Because of this, she dropped out in the 8th grade, at 14 years old. Both her siblings got employed in really good companies, and they took care of her since then until she got married. My dad passed away just 2 years after their marriage, and she had to take care of me on her own. Her siblings did help, but she worked 2 jobs along with that to support us both. Edit, herself, and me. I was an only child. My father died while she was pregnant with me. Today we had a family get-together. My mum, her siblings, each of their kids and daughters/sons-in-laws, and grandkids, etc. After having dinner, my wife said we needed to leave early because our kids have to go to basketball, swimming, and also private tuitions tomorrow. My kids were begging her to let them stay for a little longer. My mum asked my wife if they can miss 1 day of practice to spend time with family, since the kids also must have missed their cousins after not having met them for nearly a year. My wife retaliated, saying an illiterate woman wouldn't know the importance of education and extracurricular activities. My mum was clearly hurt and apologized for overstepping. I told my wife that literacy clearly hasn't taught her, my wife, basic manners. My wife got mad at me for insulting her in front of everyone and went back home with the kids. She is not even picking my calls up or replying to my texts. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I believe I might be the arsehole for not siding with my wife and insulting her. Your wife deserves it. Your wife absolutely deserved that. I think she deserved more. If it were me in this situation, just saying that literacy clearly hasn't taught her basic manners, I don't know, man, I'd say more. Like, that's my mum in the situation. The wife obviously knows the entire extent of mum's situation there. The wife is being incredibly unreasonable and then attacks the mum for no reason at all. That came out of nowhere. That was a kill shot. That is despicable. I have a lot more to say about this wife, but I'm gonna go not the asshole for this one, OP. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your wife sounds awful and should show your mum all the respect in the world. As many people say on this site, this is a massive red flag. Your wife clearly looks down on others and doesn't have respect for you or your family. Stealing the top comment to say OP, don't divorce her, whatever you do, don't. She will get primary custody because she spends more time with the kids and you would have to pay child support and alimony. Try to get her to have a high-paying job and spend a lot of time with your kids for primary custody. This may be true in the US, but OP is in India. It's even more true for India. Stay-at-home mothers almost always get the alimony and kids. Alimony because a large majority of Indian women are housewives, and dowry is a norm, often against their wishes, and there are laws in place to protect them. Of course, this also means that there are women who are unfairly advantaged too. Even if his wife was working, he would still have to pay alimony. And regarding children, in Indian culture, it's assumed that mothers matter more to the kids than fathers. It not only means that culturally, only women are expected to drop their careers for kids and become a stay-at-home mother, but it also means that the fathers hardly ever get the custody of their kids in divorces. Divorces are also very uncommon. I personally don't know any divorced couple or have seen one in real life. I'm Indian. Not the arsehole. Too bad you didn't keep the kids with you so they could have enjoyed that time with their cousins. Maybe next time you take the kids and leave your wife at home because she obviously doesn't respect for giving her that nice stay-at-home wife, life, or your mum. OP replies, I wanted to keep them with me there, but my wife was adamant about not letting them stay in such a place where she was insulted. Oh damn. She doesn't even respect or like where you come from. Is this the first time your wife undermined your mum? Do they have a great relationship? Anyway, not the arsehole. And OP replies, My wife usually doesn't speak to my mum much because she feels my mum is a very typical 1960s housewife who only cares about others and not about herself. I don't push her to have a relationship with my mum because I don't want any fights breaking out and my mum getting hurt in the process. Your wife is a housewife and judging other women like that? Also, caring about others is not a bad thing. For all things, you need balance. Your mum is an amazing woman, but your wife sucks. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for letting my child climb on a rock? Hi, I'm a 34-year-old woman, and my 3 children are a 12-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, and a 7-year-old girl. My husband is a 35-year-old man. A couple weeks ago, we went on a trip to some historical sites in several countries in Europe, basically like a road trip. My husband had a terrible headache on the 4th day of our trip, so he stayed at the hotel while our children and I went to a dolmen. When we got there, my children were a bit bored, so I let them run around and play for a bit. There weren't a lot of people there, so they were not bothering anyone. And then my 9-year-old climbed on one of the boulders of the dolmen. He looked so proud of himself when he managed to climb up, so I wanted to take a picture of him. But then a girl, around 19 I'd say, walked up to me and sarcastically asked, "Do you let your kids climb on their grandparents' graves like that too?" Needless to say, I got a bit angry and told her to mind her own business and said that a 5,000-year-old dead guy won't mind if a child climbs on a rock. Her face looked like I just killed a puppy in front of her, and she walked away. When we got back to the hotel, I told my husband about it, and he said that it's a bit tasteless to tell someone to climb on what is essentially a gravestone. I got mad because he wouldn't support me and undermined me in front of the children like that. I went to the bathroom where I called my sister to tell her what happened. She said that the girl shouldn't have approached me like that, but that I was also wrong for the way I responded to her. I told her that the girl was out of line for talking to someone that's older than her like that, and I hung up. It's been a couple weeks now, and it just hasn't been sitting right with me. I have been thinking that maybe I am the asshole, and I guess I can see why someone would see a dolmen as a grave. So am I the asshole for letting my child climb on a rock? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. I had to go look up what a dolmen is, but you're the asshole for letting the kid climb on that. It is clearly a thing with ritual significance, and they also look somewhat precarious. Like a lot of people climbing on them could topple them. You're also the asshole for thinking that she couldn't call you out on letting your kids climb a tomb because she happens to be younger than you. Even old people get called out when they do stupid crap. That totally depends on the culture of the area you're in. Here in the Netherlands, there are a lot of dolmen. We call them hoenbedden, and people, children and adults, climb on them and sit on them all the time while visiting them. Same with the burial mounds we have here. It's not considered tasteless and offensive at all here. In fact, I have very happy memories of climbing on and under our dolmen as a small kid, as a teenager, and as an adult. It's different if that specific location has been a sacred place continuously, but most Dutch people didn't know our dolmen were actually graves, and if they did, they robbed them. Though most were robbed before current societal memory. I should add that there are some organizations who do consider it disrespectful, but that's not the common Dutch consensus. It seems to be more a reaction to the shock and offense of foreign tourists towards the climbing than of our own cultural inclinations. Honestly, tourists shouldn't have their kids climb on things that are not designated for climbing, regardless of the significance. The significance and the response make it worse, but climbing on random crap is also just stupid and dangerous. She never mentioned seeing anybody else doing it either, just that she let her lone kid climb. You're the asshole. It's a historical site as well as a grave site. Your actions are exactly why historical sites are ruined and destroyed, and governments, archaeologists, and historical societies struggle to keep them safe. Like putting fences around them to keep people like you out. And one more thing. Your age means nothing when you are doing something wrong. You don't get a free pass from young people telling you that you are wrong just because you're older. You don't automatically gain respect either. I also like how you essentially want your husband to lie to you to make you feel like you were right. Sorry, if you made a mistake, the first person to tell you should be your significant other because they are the one that you should trust the most with these kinds of judgments. Instead, you got mad at him for not supporting you for being wrong. You have a lot to work on. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for yelling at my mum about replacing me with her new kid? I know it sounds bad, but hear me out. So I, 27 male, and my mum, 45 female, have never had a good relationship. My dad, 52 male, worked a lot of hours, so it was always just me and my mum. All she did was nag me constantly. It was always about that crap. She never listened to what I wanted. For example, she'd pack these really elaborate lunchboxes, and when she found out I was giving it to my friend, she got really upset, even though I told her before that I wanted normal foods. To make it worse, she guilt-tripped me by packing my friend his own lunch and dropped it off every morning when she drove me to school. It was a passive-aggressive stunt. Long story short, my dad and his co-worker clicked, things happened, and my mum freaked out and they divorced. I was 16 and wanted to live with my dad and my stepmom, who was way more chill. She let me live and didn't nag me about homework and stuff. My mum tried to get custody, but the judge let me decide. My dad and stepmom didn't make me contact her. A few years later, I changed my number for insurance stuff, moved out of state, and we lost contact. She was literally already married and had a kid, but she didn't tell me. It wasn't 11 years of no contact like people said, just a couple years out of touch, so she basically lied to me. Recently, my grandparents had their anniversary, and they somehow invited my mum even though she's the ex. I didn't think she would show up. She came in with her husband and a 5-year-old kid, my half-brother. My mum had married someone without telling me and had a kid. I was so upset that she hadn't even told me, I yelled at her. I was really hurt that she had replaced me with the perfect, well-behaved kid. She was going to pretend I didn't exist so her perfect life could continue. She threw a tantrum and left with her new family. My grandparents asked me to leave, but my dad and my stepmom had my back. They said that it was ridiculous that she hadn't told any of us that she got remarried and had a kid. My grandparents said that they knew and were invited to her wedding. Now my dad is mad at his parents, I'm mad at my mom, and my life has turned to crap. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit, I don't care that she remarried and had a kid. I care that she hid it from everyone. Jesus, she was a helicopter parent and didn't let me breathe my entire life and guilt-tripped me on how she loved me so much when she didn't even care to look at me once during the anniversary party. It's not like she used to tell me that I was the light of her life or crap like that. It's not like I'm her son. Now I'm nothing to her because she has a new family and a new son that she can't mother hen the crap out of and then abandon when he's a real person instead of her perfect dress-up doll. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. What you describe sounds like normal parenting. Eat your breakfast, put on clean clothes, do your homework, go to bed, you have to get up in the morning. I wouldn't pack pretzels and mozzarella sticks for a kid's lunch either, and it sounds like your friend needed and enjoyed his lunch, and yet you were making it all about you. You have left out the details that explained why it's so awful that your mum nagged you about these things. With the details that you were giving though, it's hard to see what's wrong. Your dad cheated on your mum. You picked your dad's side because your stepmother didn't do any parenting. You and your father chose to drop out of the relationship. Your grandparents didn't. And then when your mum is invited to dinner, you scream about how she didn't tell you she was pregnant. You are the one who chose not to reach out to her for 5 years. You replaced her in your life, and now you're complaining that she's moved on? A 40-year-old woman isn't too old to think about kids. His contempt for his mum was oozing the entire post, even before he found out about her new family. Gee, no wonder why she didn't want him to be a part of her new life. You're the asshole, OP. I felt terribly for his mother after reading this post. He comes off as really spoiled and entitled, to be honest. Seriously, I don't get it either. She moved on. She left him alone. OP is going on 30 and acts like he expected his mum to be miserable in her loneliness. That's what got me. He's 27 and clearly still 13. That response is from a child, not a grown man. I bet he didn't have any parenting from his dad, and that is why he is so childish. You're the asshole. You don't get to go no contact and then be angry when they don't contact you. Oh my god, memory unlocked. In 2017, my sister went surprise no contact with my parents, then had the absolute gall to be mad when we didn't tell her that Nana died in 2019. She showed up to the funeral with my cousins, and I had to play messenger, and everyone reconciled somehow. Turns out 6 months after going no contact, she had unblocked their numbers, but told no one. It still baffles me, and one day I'll be brave or drunk enough to call her out on it. You're the asshole. I'm confused here. You picked the parent you wanted to live with, and did not hold up contact on your end. You moved, changed numbers, never bothered to give her the new one? Your passivity had a huge part in your estrangement, and then suddenly you get confused that you missed a major milestone. I get it. The reality of that half-sibling hurt, and maybe there was some part of you that expected her to always just wait for you, even if you had no intention of returning. And the realization that she moved on with her life, which by the way does not mean she stopped loving you, she just accepted your choices, even you made them passively, was like a bucket of cold water. But you were out of line, not her. Am I the asshole for asking my boyfriend to charge his family member for fraud? Backstory. I, 27 female, and my boyfriend, 34 male, have been together 5 years and have worked really hard to save for a house. 2 weeks ago, we fell in love with a house and we put down an initial deposit to hold the property. The house won't be built until the end of 2022. We have been in talks with a mortgage broker and the builder's finance people. Last week, we received some shocking news when my boyfriend's credit score came back as being bad. There was activity on the statement that was 100% not his, and a credit card that has gone into default over the last 6 months. The credit card was originally my boyfriend's, but he swears he closed the account and cancelled the card mid-2019. Long story short, we discovered that a family member that was living with him a few years ago has gotten a hold of the card at some point and has been using the card on and off since 2019. They defaulted on payments in early 2020, but paid this off, then defaulted again in December of last year, and the account is still in default, and over $5,000 is owed in charges and late fees. Charges for shopping, news agency, takeaway food and pubs, gambling. My boyfriend has had zero knowledge of this, as he hasn't had access to the account after he closed it, and hasn't been receiving statements or notices from the bank. The family member has diverted these to their addresses. We are now unable to successfully apply for a bank loan for our house, as they won't lend to my boyfriend with his credit the way it is. Our options are to 1. Proceed with fraud investigations and charges on the family member, allowing us to prove this is of no fault of my boyfriend's, and successfully secure the loan, or 2. Boyfriend pays the debt, and we wait at least 2 years from the payoff date for his credit to regain some loss. Option 2 sets us back at least 3 years in starting a family and our lives as homeowners. This will also not allow my boyfriend to secure a bank loan to start up his own business that he has been dreaming of starting for a few years. This was the year he planned on doing it. This has devastated us and put a massive delay in our plans. My boyfriend doesn't like conflict and is going with option 2. He isn't even planning on mentioning anything to the family member. He wants it to all go away and thinks this family member is going through a rough time. I want my boyfriend to proceed with fraud charges and investigation. We have worked too hard to not have our dream house and him owning his own business. So am I the asshole for pushing my opinion on my boyfriend? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel I might be the asshole as I might be pushing my boyfriend into doing something he doesn't want to do, but his actions don't only affect him, but affect me and our future. I think his decision might be selfish, but I think my opinion might be selfish also. I'm very confused and need outside opinions. Now in the comments, not the asshole, but is this someone that you really want to build a life with having this kind of baggage? He's willing to pay off a debt incurred by someone fraudulently and not even address it with that person. What happens if this person does it again? He's already taught them there is no consequences if they spend money they don't have, and then it'll be tied to you as well. You need to think long and hard about whether this is something you want to deal with long term. I do think it's odd that he's willing to pay for it and not address it with the person that incurred the debt. Are you sure the person didn't have permission to keep using it as long as they paid the bill? And OP replies, I have had these exact thoughts and am still battling with myself on what decision I make going forward. Because I agree, I am not willing to let this person potentially do this again and it become my issue. My boyfriend swears to me he had no knowledge of this. He wouldn't have agreed to let this family member use the card as he knows this person isn't good with money. My conversation would go something like this with my partner. While I understand how you don't want conflict, this decision does not affect only your life, but also mine. This delays us significantly in getting a home, having a child, which you mentioned, and starting a life together. If you are not willing to put our life above disrupting someone who had no compassion or thought for you while doing something very illegal, then I will seriously need to reconsider our future going forward. It definitely sucks, but this isn't a small thing with minor consequences. You are directly impacted. 100% not the arsehole. Your boyfriend would be the arsehole if he chooses option 2. Been there, done that with a family member destroying my credit, stealing money out of my bank accounts, writing bad checks, stealing my engagement and wedding ring to pawn it, which I had to pay to get out on the last day. He needs to reopen in order to fight with credit agencies and attempt to get these debts resolved. Also, place a fraud alert and lock his credit reports so no one else can use his identity. And OP replies, we have already put a lock on his credit, so no more charges or enquiries can be added to his account. This person has also used my boyfriend's identity to apply for payday loans. The credit card account has been locked also, and the card has been frozen. I feel right now it is still really fresh. We have known for all of 2 days. I don't think my boyfriend is thinking clearly, because it's not just the credit card lowering his score, it is all the other enquiries that have been made too. He needs the fraud report evidence to fight the rest too. He needs to go with option 1, otherwise this will continue to happen. I don't know much about small businesses, but surely the family member would be able to embezzle even more money once the boyfriend sets it up. There is so much harm that can be done, including stealing other assets. This person has not just stolen money from your boyfriend. They have stolen your chance from having your dream home together. They have stolen your boyfriend's chance to start his own business. They have stolen your chance to start your family together when you plan to. If your boyfriend lets them get away with all that, then I would say that he has also let them steal your relationship, as it's hard to see how it could survive all of that. If your boyfriend can't see that, then it may be time to reconsider where you go from here, as from my viewpoint, your boyfriend is prioritizing a thief over you. And OP replies, I completely agree with you, and I've had these thoughts also. You say he's conflict averse, that's why he's choosing option 2. You need to make it clear to him that the options are a conflict with a lying, thieving family member or a conflict with you. This is unacceptable behavior from a life partner, and be very blunt in the fact that if you can't trust him to stick up for you and your future together, then you can't trust him, period. And now on to the update. So I want to begin by thanking everyone for their advice on my original post. There were some really constructive strategies and words of advice. I spoke with my boyfriend about my concerns and was honest with him that the things he was telling me didn't all make sense. He was adamant he didn't know anything about the credit card or the apparent enquiries on his credit account about payday loans. My boyfriend is still refusing to open any fraud investigations against his family member and has said he will pay off the debt himself, but some other things came out during our conversation that he was hiding from me. Lying has been a big issue of his during our whole relationship. In the past, I have forgiven him for his lies, but I can't keep forgiving the same issue every few months when he promises to change, but we're in the same spot every few months. And I'm not talking little lies. I'm talking big lies, and even bigger lies to cover up those lies. I know I'm stupid for giving him the benefit of the doubt, so in saying this, my boyfriend is now my ex-boyfriend. When I spoke with my boyfriend about my concerns above, he ended up picking up his bag and walking out on me and drove away. That was the last time I've seen him in person. This is how this man dealt with an issue in our 5-year relationship. We haven't spoken much since, but I have definitely resigned to the fact that my relationship is over. I think he is expecting me to forgive him like all the previous times. I have packed his stuff up and will return to him after my city comes out of our 6th lockdown. There is a good ending to this story though. I spoke with my mortgage broker and the housing developers. I can't afford the original townhouse I fell in love with alone, but a smaller townhouse that I also loved came available, and I've been approached for this one. I paid my deposit 3 days before my birthday last month, and I bought a house by myself. Now, a little bit of Markee commentary on that one. That's the most unbelievable part of this story, that you're able to afford your own house in Melbourne of all places? Come on, who do you think I am? Now in the comments, good for you. The problem with a liar is that they never quit. You constantly need to keep an eye on them like some kind of child. That's not what you want in a relationship. 100%. I knew things would be iffy and off with things that he would tell me, and sometimes he forgot what he would tell me and say something different. When I would confront him about things not making sense, he would gaslight me and make me think I was imagining things, and I would second guess myself. It would drive me nuts. OP, I dragged a relationship and let myself be gaslit for 2 years. A relationship that should have ended in 2 months. He would cry, apologize, and promise to change. While I do think he meant all these things, people don't change like that. It took me a lot of time to realize this and forgive him. I hope you never let him slide back into your life. When you are gaslit and abandoned frequently, you confuse your boundaries and accept abuse. Don't do that. Don't even go back. No man is worth this much pain and hassle. I am so freaking proud of you. You are so wonderfully strong. Have a great life in your new great house. And OP replies, thank you so much for all of your kind words, and thank you so much for sharing your story with me as well. I really appreciate it. It seems like there's quite a common things between my situation and your situation, and you are completely correct. They will never change. I just want to say that you were never stupid for loving someone and trusting them, and wanting them to be their best selves. It is his fault that he lied to you, not your fault that you believed him. If he wasn't so dishonest, then your decision to trust would have been fine. It's his lies that made it a bad decision, not yours for trusting him. That whole story about the scorpion and the monkey does not apply to humans, because humans can choose not to sting. And OP says, wow, 100% true. Humans can choose not to sting. And yes, I'm not responsible for his reaction to my decision to the way he chose to act. You were never the asshole for being a good person and trusting someone. Their betrayal speaks more of themselves than anyone else. From your previous post, it seems he was willing to prioritize a fraudster than his life with you, and he was expecting you to go along with anything he decided. With all the lies on top of that, you did the healthiest thing by putting an end to the relationship. Time to enjoy a liar-free life in your new home. Also, congrats on your new house. Our next post is titled, Am I the Asshole for Refusing to Disinvite My Former Stepmom to My Wedding? So my dad and mum had a pretty dysfunctional marriage. It ended when my dad announced that he had fallen in love with another woman and filed for divorce. The divorce was ugly, but in the end, they agreed to split custody. The woman my dad cheated on was a 19-year-old. To put into perspective, my sister and I were 12 and 13 when this happened. Yeah, we were children back then and blamed her for it after a little nudging from our mother. We were awful to her, but she was a friend to us. She gave us space, she took care of us, and she helped us with things when we did ask her for something. She was the one who handled all the school communication and meetings when I was bullied. She was the one my sister trusted to pick her up from a bad party that she had snuck out to. She was the one who helped with applying for college and fought with my dad to get information that I need for my scholarship. She caught on to the fact that she could do much better than our father and divorced him when I left for college. She still stayed in touch with us, and we formed a good bond. I think of her as an elder sister and a fellow victim of my father's behavior. I am getting married and I want to invite her. My mother is against it. I have a difficult relationship with my mother and I'm trying to mend it. I understand why she doesn't want to see her. She is the homewrecker and ruined their relationship. She thinks that I am behaving like dad and not taking into account the hurt I am causing. I feel like I am an asshole here, as I think her feelings are valid. I understand why she feels the way she does. I am forcing her to mar a happy day by inviting my stepmom, or I could just force her to skip it. It does sound like the thing my dad used to do. Now in the comments, not the asshole. She is clearly important to you, and family isn't always about biology. When I was 15, my mum had a boyfriend for a year that I was very close to. I see him as a father. I'm now 32. He was at my medical school graduation, and he'll be at my wedding later this year, as long as COVID doesn't delay it. I'd like to add, that girl was not a homewrecker. She was a kid, barely older than OP, who was almost certainly manipulated by her father, and while mum's feelings are understandable, she is directing her anger at the completely wrong party. That's the thing. OP's father was old enough, or about old enough, to be this former stepmother's father. She was literally 6 and 7 years older than his own children, and it sounds as if she really tried to do right by the kids. It does. Also, where were mum and dad when the 19-year-old was handling school communications? She was somehow the most functional adult in this situation. That part. Why was this child raising their children for them? No assholes here. Let's be clear, the only homewrecker is your father. You are valid for wanting ex-stepmom there given your relationship. Your mother is also valid in not wanting to be around her, even though your father is the homewrecker. Your mother should move past it since it is your day, but you may have to make a choice if she refuses to come if stepmom comes. OP's mum doesn't need to move past not wanting to be in the same room as the woman who chose to screw her husband behind her back. Her not wanting anything to do with her is completely valid. Let's be clear here. OP's dad was a grown-ass man who chose to leave his wife and children to go screw a literal teenager. Stepmom might have been an idiot for going along with it, but she was a teenager. Shouldn't we expect her to be a bit of an idiot? I can understand OP's mum not wanting to be around her, but there is no need to vilify stepmom. Not only that, but stepmom's list of accomplishments as a stepmom is notable for doing things the birth parents should have done or normally do. Perhaps arsehole dad didn't want to do what was needed to help with the educational aspects, but if birth mom had, why would stepmom be doing this instead of birth mom? Help with applying for college and fought with dad to get the information that I needed for the scholarship. Sounds like she was a mature step-parent at the end of the day. And now on to the update. I got over 500 comments. That was a lot. I felt a lot better about inviting my stepmom for the wedding. I firmly told my mum that not inviting her was not an option. She had seemed to have gotten it. We tried to spend time together, but it was not working for me. My mum seemed like a great person in comparison to my father, but that is a really frickin' low bar. She is mean, judgmental, and fixated on social status. I've been spending time with my future mother-in-law lately. The way she talks to her daughter and me is just miles different from how my mum talks to me and my sister. Every time I went over, I realized that my mum had never been a good mother. I was still trying to make it work with my mother, but my stepmom sent me screenshots of a pretty manipulative and guilt-tripping rant that my mum had sent her. It was pretty vile and made her cry. I stopped trying to make it work and cut contact with my mum. I just wanted one of my parents to be there for the wedding, but because I knew my father was an irredeemable asshole, I pinned all my hopes on her, but she let me down. It sucks, but I will have my real friends and family there. Now in the comments, you said in your original post that you felt like your stepmom was more like an elder sister, but I just want to point out that she apparently did more for you and your sister than either of your parents. She was your mum to the best of her ability. So don't be feeling as if you had no parents there for your special day. You had an awesome parent who loved you very much, right there cheering you on. I keep saying this around here, but I'll say it again. Family is who loves you, that is all, and it is everything. It was my Uncle W's favorite line, and he should know. All of the people he considered family, including me, had no genetic or legal family relationship to him. Didn't make us any less family. You've got a family. The people who love and care for and respect you. Maybe some of them are related to you by blood, like your sister. Maybe some of them will be related to you by law, like your in-laws. Maybe some of them are just family of your heart, like your ex-stepmom. As long as they are family in your mind, that is what matters. Your mum, maybe she comes around. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe you decide that she is just too much and that you don't want to deal with her, and that is totally an okay call. This internet stranger is proud of you for saying, "I don't deserve to be treated like this," and walking away. Enjoy your wedding, have fun, and celebrate safely with your family. Blessings and happiness to you and your spouse. Am I the asshole for booking to go away the same weekend as my boyfriend, leaving him to look after our daughter? My boyfriend and I have a 3-year-old daughter together. He used to go away very occasionally by himself before we had her, and this has increased quite a lot since she was born. Not for long periods, just a night or two. He also visits his daughter from a previous relationship, which is fine, but I'm mentioning as relevant later. He is notoriously bad for informing me when he is going away. He always claims he told me and I forgot. There have been times where he's arranged to see his daughter on weekends when plans have already been made. These were all pre-COVID. Once I had arranged for my mum to babysit for our anniversary and for us to go out. Another time I was meant to be attending a baby shower and I needed him to watch our daughter. Another time I had arranged to go to the theatre with a friend. His daughter lives quite far away, so he wouldn't have made it back in time to watch our daughter. He was fully aware of all of these plans and claimed he forgot when arranging to see his daughter. I didn't ask him to cancel as it is not fair on her, so I had to make other arrangements in each case. Obviously, he's been going away less because of restrictions. As soon as they eased, he has been going away. I have never had a night away for our daughter. I had made a couple of plans, but each time a lockdown happened, so obviously they got cancelled. He says he encourages me to go away, and he is not stopping me. I have tried to explain that his going away so much does stop me, as someone needs to look after our child. I'm not comfortable for either of my parents to watch her yet, just in case of any risk. In summer, once restrictions have lifted, I have arranged to see my friends for a couple days. I told him about it, and he said that I couldn't do it on that date because he was going on a cycle holiday. I told him he hasn't told me anything about this, and yet again he claims he did, and I forgot. He asked me to cancel it, saying I could go to my friends anytime. I could rearrange it, but feel I shouldn't have to. He could also rearrange camping. So I've been refusing, and now he is in a sulk. Am I the asshole for not rearranging my plans? Edit, I have got a family calendar when the issues of him double booking arose. Problem is, he will only write in it if I nag him to do so, or he'll say that he'll do it later, and not to treat him like a child. I want to say that it would be petty, and it could be petty, you doing this, because that is like devil's advocate in this situation, but in all honesty, he's had so many holidays, he continues to have holidays. The one time you go to have your holiday, there is pushback. That just seems really unreasonable. Surely he sees the problem here, yet it inconveniences him to cancel his holiday, therefore he doesn't want to. That's not a supportive partner. Screw that guy. You're not the asshole. Now in the comments, with everything here, it doesn't sound like he is a good partner. His gaslighting you about his plans is not good, and you need to address it. Maybe a shared calendar where he puts the time so at least there is proof, but your bigger issue is that he doesn't respect you. Being a parent and partner is a two-way street, and everything here is flowing one way, not the asshole. He won't even mark the calendar according to OP's edit. Throw the man away, collect child support, and get your own nanny. Then her response should be, if it's not in the calendar, it won't happen. She should fill out all her plans and say too bad, cancel yours. You weren't adulting, and you didn't want me to nag you, so now you have to watch our child while I go and do what was planned for. That's my response to my teenager. We got a shared calendar app when she got a job and car. She learned really quickly that if it isn't on the calendar, it doesn't exist. If a forgetful 16-year-old can sort it out, there is no reason a grown man can't. Not the asshole, but the boyfriend sure sounds like one. Not the asshole, and he is a major gaslighter. Yep, and this time the term gaslighting is being used correctly. About a year ago, I replied to a comment about using the term incorrectly, and so many people jumped on me about how words evolve over time, and how it now just means simply lying a lot in a manipulative way. I just rolled my eyes and ignored it, because no, it doesn't mean that. We already have words for that. Gaslighting is more than just a series of lies and manipulations. It is the content and usage of those lies and manipulations that matter. Yes, I'm happy it's used correctly here too, and no, that's not sarcasm. Just happy we are both happy about correct usage. Not the asshole. He is leaving you to parent by yourself so he can continue having a social life, which leaves you isolated from the people you want to see and stuck at home. He is majorly gaslighting you by lying to you about forgetting dates, etc. These two things alone are huge red flags. But the fact that he goes out so often for such short periods of time would also raise concerns for me. And now onto the update. Not sure if anyone really wanted an update, but the situation came to a head, so I just wanted to vent. Thank you to everyone who commented. So I had a word with him about the family calendar, and people's suggestions about it. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Making sure my time away was on there. He seemed to go along with it and said he would reschedule his cycle trip. Great, I thought. Until it came to the morning of the trip. My boyfriend often gets up super early, and I roll over and go back to sleep, so thought nothing of it when he was up early. Heard the door go, but just presumed he was taking out the bins or something. When I woke up, I couldn't find him and the car had gone. Tried to phone him, no answer. Some of his stuff had gone. Asked my neighbor to check his garage for my boyfriend's bike, where he keeps it, and it had gone too. Confused and quietly seething at this point, try his phone a couple more times. Nothing. Phone my friend at this point, saying I can't find him and will probably miss my train. About midday, I get a phone call. He had gone on his trip. Tells me to check the calendar. He had Tip-X'd out my writing and written in his trip. I say a few choice words to him. He basically says it's my fault as I should have gotten up earlier. So I told him that he won and he is now free to go on as many cycle trips as he wants. Friend suggested taking the kids to the seaside. Her son is a similar age. We spent the next day at the beach and had a nice time. Told boyfriend not to come back. He says I'm overreacting, but I am done. And another update, he came back on Sunday. Unfortunately can't change the locks due to renting. Came back like nothing had really happened. I calmly asked him to leave as our daughter was about. He said he wasn't going anywhere and he'll watch her next week so I could go away. I said I couldn't believe he has completely missed the point of what he had done. I called my brother and asked him to pick us up. We have been staying there until I can sort out the practical parts of the split. X has called non-stop and turned up at my brother's house where my brother turned him away. He has finally apologized. I said I am still done. I just don't have the energy or the will anymore. Now in the comments, don't you just love it when the trash takes itself out? The only thing you need to do now is to make sure you don't bring the trash back into your house. Good for you and thanks for the update. It's going to be a most beautiful day. I especially love that he told her not to treat him like a child about the calendar, and then he crossed through her plans and snuck out of the house like a child. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Yeah, when she told him he won, I thought that's exactly how he sees this. I bet he wrote in his plans right as he was leaving as a gotcha to OP. Wow, good on you for ending it. What he did was beyond disrespectful. He would rather act like a child than have a conversation. Who thinks, I'll cross their plans out and if I sneak out early enough, they can't do anything about it. He deserves to be single. He probably has the same attitude towards a subpoena, eviction notice, etc. If I ignore a valid legal document addressed to me, they can't take action if I don't respond or just start claiming it's illegal and wave my hand. Completely ignoring the fact that if the legal document is valid, the contact information is correct, and it was received by a recipient or someone allowed to accept on their behalf, then it becomes a no-show and therefore a win for the other side. Not the asshole. Well done, you. He sounds very selfish, and from reading your last post, it appears he doesn't care about anything but his own wants. In your shoes, I'd be writing dumped selfish asshole on the calendar. Don't give him an inch going forward. Legal route all the way for custody and child support. Don't allow any room for maneuvering and grandstanding. You don't want your child to be waiting at the window while he dips off to see the child out of town deliberately and without notice. If he comes back full of fake contrition, don't believe a word of it. He lied, deceived, outmaneuvered, and betrayed you. This isn't a case of I win from his perspective, it's a case of I don't give a stuff about you. As long as I get what I want, that is all that matters. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not using my inheritance money to help my brother and his family out? Hello. This is my first time posting on Am I the Arsehole, and English is not my first language, so sorry if the format is not right. Background. Me, 19 female, and my brother, 32 male, became orphans 10 years ago due to an accident our parents were in. My parents had always been a bit paranoid when it came to their mortality, so they had a set plan in case they passed. They left a significant amount of money for each of us, and our childhood home was meant to be mine. They specified that we would have access to our share of the will when we turn 18. Since my brother was already old enough, he took his money and cut all contact with me. I had lived with my grandparents ever since, but last year, I finally got my share. I decided to move into the house and use the money to pay for my studies. I'm in first year of medicine, and it is very expensive. I have estimated that when I finish medicine in 5 years, I will have a lot of money left to continue with what I want to specialize in and have some money left. My grandparents know my plan and offered to help me with my living expenses so my inheritance become exclusive for my studies until I finish. I accepted, and we've been like this for a year. Now to the issue. My brother and his wife have 3 children from ages 9, 7, and 4. My brother spent his inheritance money on a house, his wedding, cars, and expensive stuff that one doesn't really need to live. My sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mom, so he was the breadwinner. My brother recently lost his job, so now their family is struggling and they need a place to stay. He contacted me and asked for us to meet up. When I arrived, he and his wife already sat down at the restaurant. Long story short, he said that since they were going through hard times, they expected me to hand them over my house and give them a share of my inheritance so they can get back on my feet. I got pissed off, since we have barely talked or visited each other since the accident, and they were just demanding me to pay for them. I told them that I wouldn't because I already have a plan for the money and I was living in the house. They said I can move back in with my grandparents and blew off at me for being selfish. After arguing, I decided to leave, but now my cousins are saying I'm an inconsiderate asshole and I should help family out. I really need to know if I'm in the wrong. So, am I the asshole? I would like to add that the main reason I'm questioning my decision is because there is children involved, his kids, and I don't want to hurt them. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I may be the asshole because we are all family after all, and they really need my help right now. Now in the comments, not the asshole. He squandered his money, he will squander yours too, then you will both be broke. Be responsible with your money, because at least one of you will be financially solvent. Not to mention the fact that OP's parents died, entire world turned upside down, at 9 years old, and then the brother leaves as well. Now said brother is calling OP a selfish asshole? Wow. You're not the asshole, OP. Tell your cousins to offer their homes instead if they actually care that much, not the asshole. Also, like your brother should have downsized by selling off the few expensive things that he has left to get some money rather than imposing on you. Honestly, the audacity. Not the asshole. Girl, you shouldn't even be here. He cut contact with you and now expects your help. No way. I'm begging you to not hand over a cent. He sounds like the type to be given a step, then suddenly take a mile. You owe him nothing. His family is not your responsibility in the slightest. Do not allow him to guilt you. Biologically you're related, but they are not family, and your brother made that decision a long time ago. People love burning bridges, not realizing they'll regret it. And OP replies, "Thank you. I'm confused as to why he cut contact in the first place, but it's been a decade and I wonder if this will help me build a relationship with him." It will not. As soon as the money's gone, he will be too. He sounds like a person I wouldn't want a relationship with. Entitled and manipulative at best, but I understand at the end of the day he is your brother, and being cut off by your only tie to your parents must have been hard, especially if you were close growing up. Right now might not be the best time to trust him in building a genuine relationship with you, as he is clearly not above guilt-tripping and insulting you to get what he wants. Give it time and watch his next move. If your relationship with him is worse off, now that you have denied him your monetary value compared to when you weren't even in his life, that speaks enough volumes about who he is and how far he will drag you down with him. And OP replies, "You were right. This isn't a situation I should try to base our relationship on. Not the asshole. Now go get those degrees." And OP says, "Thank you. It will take a lot of time and money, so I can't really afford to pay him. Besides, if I give him money, I'll have to find another job, and it's not the best option with my career choice. If you can find a job, then so can your brother." And now on to the update. A lot has happened since my post, so I'll be updating here. I first told my grandparents everything that happened, and they're supporting me. I told my cousins that were sending me messages to help my brother themselves, and they got angrier, so I blocked them. I then invited my brother and his wife to eat, and offered them to let them rent 3 rooms in my house. They asked if it was free, and I said no, but it would not be expensive. They kept insisting on me handing over my property, so I decided to leave. I had a conversation with my brother, and turns out you were right. He doesn't want a relationship with me. To be honest, I'm completely heartbroken and angry because I thought things would change. After that conversation, I decided this time I would be the one cutting contact, and my grandparents did too. I don't know if things are definitely finished now, but I surely hope so. Thanks to everyone for the judgment and advice. Now in the comments, you know what? This may be a blessing in disguise, since he has left no question about his nature and made it very easy to see that he has nothing good to add to your life. Came here to say this also. It's lucky that he has revealed his intentions so clearly so quickly before you lost or suffered even more. You can now move on knowing that you have absolutely made the right decision, as painful as it may be. No may about it. Reading this, I was so glad they didn't come up with a rental agreement. Once you have someone living in your home, it is often very difficult to evict them from a legal standpoint. If he is already demanding OP's property, my bet is he'd move his family in, treat the home like he owned it, and entrench himself. Good luck with everything. It hurts to be treated this way by someone that should be close, but it's better to know than be taken advantage of. Maybe share that information, that he doesn't want a relationship with you, with the cousins, and see if that changes their mind. Maybe they would do huge favors for someone that treats them like garbage. I'm just thinking that's not the case. I am so sorry to hear that your brother was just using you to access the house and your money. Going no contact is definitely the best way to go here. I personally think that them moving into your house would have been disastrous for you. My first thought was you coming home from school one day and finding all of your belongings in the front yard with the locks changed. Stay strong, and good luck on your medical degree. Am I the asshole for refusing to comfort my daughter after telling my husband I was emotionally burnt out? For some background, I, 26 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been married 6 years and have a toddler. Since we had her in December 2019, I have more or less been the sole caretaker, a stay-at-home mum, while he works. After discussing this with him, we can no longer afford to have this set up, so I'm going back to work. Granted, it's a work-from-home position. I made it clear to him that he will have to start helping me, be it around the house with chores or even cooking dinner sometimes, which I've been doing all of this alone for almost 2 years, since it is a full-time job and I will still be somewhat watching our daughter. Tonight was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I had cooked dinner and asked him to give our kid a bath so I could relax, finish eating, and have a moment alone. He started the bath, and a few moments later sent me a text, so he wasn't leaving her in the tub alone, if I could come finish her bath, meaning scrub her, rinse, dry, and dress her. I ultimately give in and go finish her bath. When I finally got my turn in the shower, I was told to hurry so that I could put her to bed. He doesn't put her to bed, claiming that she likes me better. So I hurry up, get her in bed, and I am exhausted. She had been sick for the past week, and I have a small cold myself, so I'm trying to go to bed, and he came stumbling in the room with our 2 dogs. When I ask who will take them out in the morning because I didn't want to clean the dog pee out of our carpet, he said, "You'll be cleaning pee out of the carpet either way." I asked him what did he mean by that, and he stormed out of the room to sleep in the couch. I, at that point, hit the bottom of my well and can no longer sleep. I get up and fix daughter a cup of milk I know she will need later in the night. In doing so, I pass him in the living room and he asks me if I'm okay. I tell him no. I was mentally done and burnt out. Unless to sleep, I start cleaning. While I'm cleaning, the toddler wakes up and is whining and demanding I hold her and put her back down. But when I have a meltdown, I can't stand to be touched. Not her fault, I know. So I try. I try and put her back down, but I mentally can't. So she stays up crying. I try to console her, but I just mentally am checked out. Her crying wakes up husband, and he gets pissed because it's now midnight, and he tells me that I'm an asshole and an idiot because I can't take care of her, and he has to be awake for work at 4:30. He tells me not to even bother coming to bed before slamming the door. So am I the asshole for not taking care of my daughter when my husband had to be at work so early? Edit. For those who think it's crazy for me to be touched out or burnt out, there are a handful. We all have different plates. My plate might not be as big as yours. It could also be made differently. You might have a stone dinner plate and I have a foam salad plate. Some days I have a stone plate as well, but some days I have that foam dessert plate. I have PTSD from childhood trauma. I have been formally diagnosed with depression and anxiety. When touched out, I will get physically ill, be it hives, nosebleeds, or even straight up vomiting. I have pushed as far as I can when it comes to comforting my daughter, but I feel like I shouldn't have to make myself ill when her dad is just as capable of comforting our daughter. I'm not saying I want him to take over the moment he comes home, but I would like to be able to shower when I want to eat my food hot, I want to be able to lay down and not feel anything on me but my clothing and blankets. I want time to decompress, even just 20 minutes so that I can mentally get back in a good place to smile and make sure my daughter understands that mum isn't perfect, but I'm trying. These were addressed in our talk. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I didn't take care of my daughter while mentally checked out, which caused my husband to have to wake up and take care of her. Now in the comments, no, not the asshole. I'm sorry that you're going through this. It's not unusual to be burnt out, to be touched out. Your husband needs to give you more support, and you need to renegotiate your home balance. You won't do it at midnight, but find a calm time, get someone to look after your girl, and have a good discussion. He couldn't even be bothered to finish bathing their child, and has the audacity to act like OP is the Wicked Witch of the West for needing backup with their child during their own mental health crisis. A discussion needs to be had. It is wildly unfair, not the asshole. Just what is he doing while he was not finishing bathing his daughter? Exactly what I was wondering. He foists several things on OP over the course of the evening, but it's not clear why he couldn't do them himself. OP says, "I'm going to try to talk to him tomorrow if he isn't still mad at me." He has zero right to be mad at you. You were very clear on what the expectations would be, and he can't even finish a single task or cuddle his own kid. If he's still mad tomorrow, you should probably start getting comfortable with knowing that he doesn't care about how you or the kid feel, just about himself. OP replies, I've pretty much made up my mind. If that's his choice, my choice will be to save money, and when he is deployed, take my daughter and anything I can fit in a car, as the car is in my name, and we will leave. I want her to have a childhood she doesn't have to recover from as an adult. I want her to enjoy being a kid and know that she is loved more than anything, and I will do anything I need in order for us to be okay. Not the asshole. Your husband is a total dick for not understanding that you are burnt out, although you told him so. With saying things like that, he invalidates your hard work at home, and on top of that, you caught a cold. Either discuss with him about splitting the chores, since it's also his child, or maybe start thinking the relationship over, although I don't think you're at that point of disagreement yet. Anyways, his behavior shows some serious dark orange flag warnings, or even red. I wish you all well, and good recovery from your colds. And OP says, thank you. I'm getting better slowly. It's hard to take the time to rest as is, but getting better is good all the same. Not the arsehole OP. Looks like we might be in the category of emotional abuse here. The fact that this is normal behavior is very concerning. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I think we can all see how this needs to go. And OP says, I'm not going to lie, I've debated leaving before, but he was the breadwinner most of the times when it got so bad, I thought about it. At least with me working, I can start putting money aside in case I do leave. And if I do, I'm taking our daughter with me. And now back up to the post. Thank you everyone for the support. I was so emotionally drained I couldn't even be mad or cry last night / early this morning. I did end up crying a little at the support I found here, and it felt nice knowing that I wasn't alone, and it was people I will probably never meet who came to comfort me. And now to the update. We have talked. He has agreed to both individual and couple therapy. We have a chore chart worked out as well. After our talk, he took our little one into our room to play, and I went to the master bedroom and took a glorious 3-hour nap. Those alone naps, marked as mum alone time, are also on the calendar every week, so he will remember that I need them until I am back to 100%, and I will continue to mark them until they become second nature to him. Our office has been renamed to decompression room, and if one of us is in there, after an hour or so, the other will do a mental health checkup. You also have a place in the living room to display my energy level with the spoon theory. That way, if I fail to properly communicate how I am in terms of burnout, he can see it. He also has a spoon cup so that I can do the same. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for Giving My Stepson's Room to My Daughter? I'll try to keep this short. I've been married to my wife for over a year now, have a stepson, 14 male, and a biological daughter, 9 female. When we married, my wife and I agreed that I would sell my house and move into hers because there is more living space. Stepson already had his own room, so my daughter got the extra bedroom, which is smaller than his. It was fine at first, but my daughter has a lot of stuff, and soon it became too small and cramped for her. Stepson also only lives with us part-time, 5 days with us, 9 days with bio-dad, and has a huge room at his dad's. My daughter lives with us full-time, so this is her only room. It seemed to me that the logical thing would be for my daughter to have the larger room since she has more stuff and spends all of her time here. Wife was hesitant at first and felt like my stepson would be upset and felt like he is being pushed aside. But I convinced her that my daughter needed the space more, so she ultimately agreed. We ended up switching rooms this week, freshly painted them, and my wife did some shopping for stepson's new room so he'd feel special. He came home from his dad's, and we surprised him with his new room. He reacted okay, thanked us for the new stuff, and didn't seem upset at first, but now he's been moping and has been cold to all of us. Wife is now regretting our choice, and upset at me for convincing her that it would be fine. Am I the arsehole? Yeah, I think you should have told him first. Why did he get left out of the discussion this entire time? I get that, some surprises are fun, but being downgraded in a house that you're still invested in, as he apparently is, doesn't feel good. I wouldn't love to be in the stepson's position either, having that just sprung on you with no indication that was ever going to happen to you. I'd feel pretty terrible if I was that kid. I'm gonna go with you're the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, you're the asshole for not discussing with your stepson first. At least give the kid a heads up. Jesus. That's what I was thinking. He's old enough to have discussed this first. Definitely agree here. My dad once dated a woman who did the same thing to me. My dad had a 4-bedroom house, I was in the second biggest room. Considering when I was at his mum's, which was most of the time, I was sharing my room with a baby, I was 10 at the time, and the room at mum's was small. When I would go to dad's, I loved that I had a big room. My brother also had a room at dad's. They were our childhood bedrooms. They were the ones mum decorated and set up for us. All of our stuff was in them, and they were decorated the way we wanted. I know at the time I only spent every second weekend, and at least 2 weeks every holidays with him, but only because he lived 2 hours away. Imagine my surprise when I went there one weekend, and went to my room to find it wasn't my room. I was devastated. Between visits, his girlfriend decided that her daughter shouldn't have to sleep on the bottom bunk of my bed anymore, and should have her own room. But apparently the smaller spare room wasn't big enough for all her stuff, so she had my dad move me into there. It wasn't big enough for my stuff either, and the girlfriend was always grounding me because her demon child would blame things on me or make up stories about something I supposedly did, and of course, they never believed me. My visits got to the point where I never got to leave the house or my room, and on a Friday night, when he picked me up from my mum before we saw the girlfriend, I would beg to stay with my grandparents, and I would. Thankfully, he didn't stay with that woman for long, because my uncle told him to open his eyes and see the damage he is letting that woman do to his daughter, and I got my room back, but it never felt the same again. You're the asshole. Talk about prioritizing one kid over the other. His whole world is changing. His mum is remarrying, he has a new parent and sibling moving in, he has to go back and forth between houses, and you just completely took away his safe space to give it to your kid. Now you can be certain that he doesn't feel like a part of your family, because when he left for a few days, you took away his room. I feel awful for him. Imagine coming back to that. Surprise! Your room's gone. Your new little stepsister took it. Wow. I feel sick. If you're not ready to parent both kids equally, which it sounds like you're not, please don't move in with this kid. Stepson now probably spends the 9 days at other parents' home, worried about what is happening to his space and things at his other home. Wouldn't be surprised if this leads to a lot of resentment for OP and his stepsister. And now onto the update. It was undoubtedly decided that I was the asshole, and I accept that. Thank you to everyone who gave me feedback and advice on how to mend the situation that I created. My wife and I sat down with my stepson and apologized, admitted that we messed up, and would do what we can to rectify the mistake. I made sure he was aware that it was my idea so he doesn't harbor ill feelings towards his mum. We actually found out that he was more upset than he let on and had cried to his bio dad about it. His dad offered to come pick him up and take him back to his house, but stepson declined and wanted to stay with us for the remainder of his visitation, so he seems to be feeling better now. We are giving him his room back, and my wife and I are moving into the smaller bedroom so kids are both happy. He'll be involved in the entire process and is going to be in charge of redecorating according to his liking. They're already shopping around online, and he seems excited. He's staying with us for a few extra days so we can repaint and make the room switch ASAP. My daughter understands and is perfectly fine with the switch as well. Obviously, there will be no more surprises in the future. We'll be discussing every decision with him from now on, and I'll be stepping back to let my wife make the decisions regarding her son. To clarify a few things, 1. The reason my daughter needed more space is because she has more toys and larger items, play kitchen, doll houses, etc., and not enough floor space to play. Stepson obviously doesn't play with toys. She also has a larger wardrobe since she's here full time. To be fair, my daughter never asked for the rooms to be switched, so she's innocent in this. 2. My intentions weren't to hurt my stepson. I was going off of logic. but realized that I was careless and inconsiderate and have apologized for that. Hindsight is 20/20, and I know now that I was an arse. I do care about him and wouldn't purposely hurt him though. And 3, I was not trying to drive a wedge between my wife and her son for those that made those accusations. I was wrong for convincing my wife to go along with this, and I acted carelessly. But there was no underlying malicious intent, and I have no reason to sabotage their relationship. Thanks again to everyone who gave advice and helped me see things from another point of view. I'll do better in the future. And now in the comments, I just wanted to say well done on resolving this. A sincere apology followed by actions that back up that apology can mean the world to a kid who has been hurt, which you seem to be doing really well. You are setting a good example for both your kids about how to act when you've done something wrong and hurt someone that you care about, which is a priceless lesson in my opinion. I agree. I know a lot of comments are calling the 9-year-old spoiled because they've given up the master bedroom to her, but to me it seems like a good compromise. If they're only using the bedroom to sleep and have no issues with taking the smaller room while keeping all her stuff away from common areas, it seems to work out for everyone. Both kids have their own private spaces, and son knows if he's unhappy with something, he can talk to them. Also, we have no idea how small the small room is. Some bedrooms are really, really small, so OP may be perfectly reasonable in explaining that her stuff simply does not fit into the room without a strain. So OP effed up giving stepson the short stick, but that doesn't mean the 9-year-old is a spoiled brat either. Good for you for realizing this, OP. A lot of times people do things logically and not realize they are being total assholes. Glad to see you have the ability to realize this and correct it. Though next time you need to talk to all parties involved before making a decision. Either be at the car or something like that. Suggestion for OP for both your kids. Look into some shelving and storage solutions for both kids. This will free up more space, especially if you store upwards or vertical. Think IKEA. Your daughter being 9 may soon outgrow the dollhouse phase as she enters her early tweens, so have a talk with both kids about doing some fall cleaning. Set aside toys that she does not play with anymore that she is okay to go to, say, the garage. Any clothes that she has outgrown that she is fine to go to donation or goodwill, and also chip into this arrangement and look into doing some decluttering yourself so the kids don't feel left out. Involve them in the design process. This is a good growing up teaching moment for both kids as they choose and design how they want to organize their material possessions. Having a cleaner and decluttered space is like a reset button for the mind and may have a positive effect on everyone involved. And OP replies, "These are some good suggestions. Thank you." Am I the arsehole for telling my friend I'm proud of her? I, 25 female, have my own 2-bedroom apartment that used to belong to my uncle. I made a friend during my uni years that I'll call Mary, 27 female. Mary had quite a hard home life, too long to detail here. I let her know that if she ever needed my help, she could always rely on me no matter what. When I graduated, I asked her to move in with me rent-free. She tried to pay, but I knew she had a lot of debt trying to pay for uni, so I told her no and to spend her money freeing herself from it. She was so thankful for this, and I loved having her live with me. We never fought about anything, both of us have the same cleaning habits and TV interests, so there is never any arguments over the remote or who has to take out the bins, etc. Tonight, we were out at a super fancy restaurant in London, as Mary had finally paid off the last of her debt, secured herself an amazing promotion at her job, and also finally passed her driving test. All of these achievements in the same month were more than deserving of an award, so we splashed out. It was me, Mary, 4 of her work friends, and 2 friends we've known since uni. It was a great night, until I handed Mary a card saying how amazing she is and how lucky I am to have her as my best friend, with quite a bit of cash inside to put towards her first car. She started crying and thanking me, and we hugged for a long time. When she pulled away, I told her I was so proud of her for kicking life in the butt, becoming successful, and showing her dad that his D-bag ways couldn't keep her down. After how she'd struggled through uni, pushing pennies together and working crap jobs, Seeing her in her dream career and being such an accomplished woman is absolutely inspiring to me. She looked mad and said, "Please don't do that. You know I don't like it when you do that." She's never said anything like this to me, ever, so I have no idea where this was coming from. I apologized and said that I didn't realize saying these things would upset her, as it's never been my intention. She just scoffed and rolled her eyes, and when I looked up at her colleagues, they were all shaking their heads at me and glaring. I felt so awkward, I wanted to shrink back into my own skin, and I was mortified that I hurt Mary. Mary didn't talk to me for the rest of the night and ignored me at the table. When we split up to head home, none of her colleagues even looked at me as they left. I said sorry to Mary as she was heading to her room to turn in, but she just shrugged me off, told me she was tired and that we'll talk in the morning. I'm so anxious that she'll want to move out or never talk to me again. I keep going over every interaction in my head to see if I crossed a line in the past, but she never gave any indication that I upset her saying these things before. All of her colleagues messaged me saying I was an asshole for saying those things to her and belittling her, but I never meant any of those things like that. To be fair, I feel like I'm on the same wavelength here as OP. I have no clue how any of that would be belittling her. How is recognizing her struggles and all the adversity she's faced, and her beating that, something negative? I don't get that. There must be a different reality that we've morphed into if every single one of those friends is glaring daggers at OP, and they've heard something else, and OP's friend has heard something else as well. Because I certainly don't understand what's going on. I'm really confused here. I'm gonna say not the asshole. I don't think you're an asshole for what you've done. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. You didn't mean to. You probably embarrassed her in front of her colleagues by talking about her struggles and her dad. Not the asshole. It sounds to me like she's still not comfortable accepting the realities she's faced. I had to raise my sister when she was 13/14, and I was 19, and it made me uncomfortable when people my age would say things like, "I'm proud of you." You were genuinely happy for her, and that's what matters. Sometimes when we are young, people bringing up our past in front of people who we are just acquainted to can be really uncomfortable, and maybe a little inappropriate, but you came from a place of love. Let her think through her feelings and explain to her that you really are sorry for upsetting her, and that if she would like to talk about it, you are all ears. Relationships are something that need a lot of caring, tending, and love. You are both still young, and it's important to talk through your emotions if you want to remain lifelong friends. Best of wishes. And OP replies, "Thank you. This is a very informative response. When I talk to her in the morning, I'm going to bring up those points and let her know that I won't step over this line again. Not the arsehole, and F her work friends who think they can message you bullcrap. Not the arsehole. People should be smart enough to look at the intentions. It seems your intentions were overwhelmingly generous and loving. Even if there was some small accidental thing that could be perceived in a negative way, any person in their right mind would be able to look past it. You're the asshole. I'm sure you meant well, but bringing up her traumas in the same sentence as congratulating her, especially in public, seems a bit lacking foresight. Maybe she doesn't like thinking about it, maybe she doesn't like it being brought up in public, and to be honest, it did come across a bit patronizing and just a little bit like you were talking down to her. Totally unintentional on your part, maybe, but if any of the above was the case, I understand her reaction. And now, my dear listeners, on to update 1. I didn't know how to update anything as I've never posted before, so when things happened, I wrote them down in Notepad to update later. But all this stuff happened in the space of 1 day. I'm posting them all below because I didn't get the chance to write them up after everything happened, as my post didn't have a judgment yet. I saw a lot of mixed reactions to my post, but there was also some great advice in there about how to approach Mary, so thank you for that. I'm afraid all that well-meaning advice turned out to be for nothing, so I'm sorry about that. Things are timestamped roughly to show how the day unfolded. Update 1, 6:30 AM. So I'm even more confused than ever right now. After staying up all night and being constantly on the verge of tears, I finally heard my roommate moving around the kitchen, so I went to talk to her. She acted totally normal and started talking to me about some drama at her work while I just stood there kind of unsure of what was happening or what to do. So I apologized again. She looked up at me in confusion and said, "Why are you sorry?" I reminded her of last night and how mad she was. Then she laughed and said, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it." And then continued making breakfast. I asked if I stepped over a line last night, if the money was too much, and if I made her feel inferior, and she said, "Nope, we're cool. It doesn't matter. I think everyone just misunderstood the situation, and you're taking things to heart a little too much." I just am even more confused than ever. I told her about her friends texting me, telling me that what I said was belittling and that I was an asshole, and she just shrugged and said they probably misread things and she'll talk to them. But I'm just so winded. I'm so tired because I haven't slept because I thought she hated me, that I'd hurt her and she would never speak to me again. But she's fine. Like, she's completely normal and just chatting with me as if last night never happened, but I'm just so confused. After seeing so many "you're the arsehole" comments, I thought I'd really crossed a line this time. But she's not fazed at all. She seemed to be upset, ignored me for the rest of the night, and her co-workers treated me like a criminal, but everything's okay, I guess? I don't know anymore. I'm tired and I'm going to sleep, but things still seem unresolved to me. I'm going to talk to her about it when she comes back from work today because her reaction still really bothers me. Update to 10 a.m. I got a call from one of the uni friends who was at the dinner last night, and we had a chat. She asked me if everything was okay between me and Mary, as she said she had never seen Mary snap at me like that until last night. I filled her in on everything that we'd talked about, and how confused I was as well. She reaffirmed many of my feelings about this being very out of character for Mary, as she had also congratulated Mary and said similar things, as well as given her a bit of money in a card, along with an expensive gift, as did many of the others. After talking to my friend, I have decided that I need to have a long sit-down with Mary to clear things up, and it's not only me who is confused by her behavior. Both of the uni friends are coming round later to have a chat, since now we are honestly quite concerned about her. Her friends have not let up on their texts to me, so I don't think that she has spoken to them. One said I couldn't try and sweep this under the carpet, which is like, what? I'm thinking of blocking all of them as they just won't leave me alone. Update 3, 4 p.m. This is not an update I expected to make. Not in a million years. Crap really hit the fan and went sideways in a way I never imagined. I'm confused, heartbroken, and really pissed off now. So, long story short, it's all a frickin' lie. One Redditor said to me that my friends might have said something to Mary's work colleagues about me that made them not like me. I talked to both of them when they came round in the afternoon, and they both denied any of that. The one I had spoken to earlier on the phone, we'll call Claire, said she'd call one of the work colleagues that she knows slightly well in order to clear things up. Let's call the colleague Jane. Jane turned up at the flat and instantly looked pissed. I almost wanted to hide behind the kitchen counter when she came in, glaring daggers at me. We all sat down, and I let Jane know that I'd spoken to Mary about last night, and that she was fine, but I was still confused. Jane then laughed and said, "Oh, don't try that crap with me. You can't just pretend now that you've been exposed in public." The three of us looked at her without saying a word, as we were all confused now. Claire asked her what she meant, and Jane said that she knew how I really treated Mary. We both asked her to elaborate, and she stood up and went on this tirade about how I apparently regularly abuse and belittle Mary, then intimidate her into saying nothing about it, and put a smile on for others? I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry at this point. She then showed me her texts with Mary, where Mary wrote to her in distress about being locked in a room because I was having a meltdown about her making friends at work. Something that never happened. Claire and my other friend took the phone and looked through the messages as well, and I had to stop reading them as they all said stuff about how Mary was afraid of me and that I had trapped her here and was extorting rent out of her. It all just leaves me numb and dead inside. Eventually, Claire got to a point where Mary said I'd cancelled her 21st birthday at uni and told her she wasn't allowed to go out. The thing is, Claire and my other friend were at Mary's 21st birthday, which I had put over £500 towards to have a themed Great Gatsby night that she'd always wanted, which in the messages she was claiming never happened. We went over a lot of stuff in the messages and realized that Mary had been spreading lies about me to all her colleagues about how I was abusive and she couldn't move out because I was charging her so much rent money. This absolutely shattered me. Mary was like a sister to me through our uni years, and I can't fathom why she'd say any of these things. It took a long time, but after Claire and my friend went over all the accusations with Jane, and I pulled up my bank details to show that Mary never makes a single payment to me except for her half of the bills, she seemed to cool down and settled into the same confusion that we were all feeling. She let us know that Mary told all of her colleagues this story, and that the reason that they were mad at me is because Mary said I like to use a manipulation tactic where I pretend I support her through everything, but use her past against her when we are in private. They all thought that's what I had been doing last night, that everything I said was meant as a backhanded compliment. Honestly, I'm just so about everything. I can't even put into words the hurt and betrayal I feel that she'd spread lies about me. For what reason? What benefit? I could never lift a finger to hurt her, but she tells everyone at her work that I isolate her from the world? Claire had to calm me down, as I couldn't stop crying no matter what I did for ages. It was quite embarrassing, but I just couldn't do anything. Now I'm a little more level-headed, still mad, but not crying anymore. I don't even want to look at Mary again. My friends have told me not to make hasty decisions. Even Claire said she was disgusted by the things that Mary was saying about me in the texts when everyone knows them not to be true. I know that I probably won't be able to clear my name with her colleagues, but I don't really care about that. I just want to know why Mary said those things about me. Jane went quiet by the end of our discussion and left without saying much, so I don't know what that means for me in her eyes. My two friends are staying with me for the rest of the day until Mary comes home. We have all got a lot of questions for her. Final update, 10:15 p.m. I have booted Mary out of the flat. She threw away years of friendship for sympathy points with her colleagues, and I still cannot understand why. When she got home and saw the three of us watching television, she got excited and said she'd make popcorn. But Claire took the lead and told her to sit down. She looked confused, but complied. Claire led everything. I didn't really know what to say to Mary at all, and could barely make eye contact with her. Claire told her that Jane had been round and yelled at me for being an abuser and a bully, and asked her why she would say those things. Mary acted confused and said that it must all just be a miscommunication, that Jane just twists things sometimes, and she must have misunderstood stuff she'd said. Then Claire asked about the text messages and started mentioning each event that Mary had cried to Jane about me being an awful person. Jane went quiet and then tried to say it was a work joke, but Claire wasn't having any of it. She pushed harder about all of this, and eventually Mary broke. She started crying and telling us that she never meant any of it, that it was a stupid thing and it shouldn't matter, that she loved me with everything she had and it was just a stupid story that went too far. She started begging me for forgiveness, but I was just so tired and still am. I looked her in the eyes for the first time and told her she had a week to find a place and move out. Then she started really bawling her eyes out and begging me to let her stay, that she didn't think it would matter because I don't work with them, but I told her I was not having that kind of bullcrap in my life. I then said, "So, do you just make up lies about everyone in your life? Is any of it real?" She went really quiet, dead silent at that point. I didn't want to believe it, but the way she was looking at me and the lies she'd made up about me abusing her had me questioning everything she'd ever told me when we were at uni together. About her dad beating her mum, about her being homeless from 16 until they divorced. I then told her to get her mum on the phone, and she panicked and begged me not to. Claire then realized where I was going with this and asked her if everything that we'd ever been told about her dad had been true, and she cracked and said she may have embellished a few things. I am so effing fuming at this point. Who the F makes up this kind of twisted crap? For what benefit? I can't even write everything that was said, as it just resorted into a screaming match between all four of us, as we learned that Mary's tragic life story had been nothing but a concoction to gain sympathy from others. Her parents are divorced, but there was no abuse involved. They just fell out of love and split. I had to learn this by calling her mother myself later on to get clarity. I had never said a word to her mum about anything in the past because Mary had warned me against it. She said I could always be open with her about everything as she wasn't ashamed, but her mum was sensitive and didn't want to talk about it. So it turns out one of my best friends is a master manipulator and probably has always been. I am so tired and exhausted of this whole nightmare. This will be my last update as I am done. I came here seeking help and advice to find a way to mend a mistake that I'd made with a trusted friend. But it turns out that last 7 years have been built on a lie. I am effing done. With Mary, with everything. I don't want to see her again. I know she can afford her own place, so I don't feel bad about kicking her out. I don't care what she does now. I just know that I don't want her around anymore. I think I'm going to book myself some therapy sessions after all of this crap. It's not a happy update, but it's the only conclusion I've got. Thank you to everyone for all the advice that you've given me over the many updates. I appreciate all of it. I'm sorry it's not cheerful, but I just hope I can move on from all of this. Oh, you thought we were done? No. Conclusion. I never thought that I would write anything else to add on to this post, but holy crap did it blow up overnight. I never expected the amazing responses I got, nor the wonderful people in my messages sharing their stories and wishing me all the best. It honestly brought me to tears to just see this flood of understanding and empathy appear out of nowhere. Thank you to everyone who took the time to message me or comment. I have now read each and every one, and am so thankful for all of the support that you've given me. I didn't think I'd update any further, but since there has been so much recent response, I can give you guys a little conclusion to how everything fully resolved. I didn't touch Reddit since my last update because I needed a lot of time to process what had happened, and having the place to myself was strange to adjust to at first, but as it turns out, very necessary to begin the healing process. Mary moved out the following Saturday of the incident. She spent the following days after the blow-up moping around the flat and wanting to talk to me. But I refused and told her I needed space. Her mum came on the weekend to help her pack her things up as Mary was going to move back in with her. Her mum cleared up a lot of the questions I'd had on my mind. I had always been told by Mary that her dad had been abusive, but her mum had loved him so much that she wouldn't leave him. So she left home and was homeless when she was 14, sleeping under benches in train stations just so she didn't have to be in the house with him. She only moved back in when her mum finally got the guts to divorce her dad. This story I had believed for 7 years turned out to be completely fake. Not only was Mary never homeless, but her father was never abusive and loved both her and her mum very much. The reason I never saw him around was because he had moved to Australia, g'day, to pursue his career, which was the real reason for the divorce. He loved his family but wanted success even more, so he left. Her mum told me that Mary's dad was always inviting her over for the summer holidays, but Mary never went because she hates flying. The day she moved out, I stayed in my room and just hid away. But she knocked on my door before she left, and I answered. I still wanted to say goodbye. She had been my closest friend for so long that it didn't feel right just letting her fade out of my life without a send-off. She asked me if I wanted the money that I gave her for her new car back, but I said no and told her to use it instead for therapy. She cried a lot and tried to hug me, but I kept her at a distance. I let her know this would be the final time that we would ever see or speak to each other. I just couldn't be around her anymore with the knowledge of what she had done. She left sobbing, and when she was gone, my little town flat felt suddenly bigger than it ever had been. It's been hard adjusting to being alone in this space. For the first week she was gone, I still expected to see her in the kitchen every morning or on the sofa when I got home. It was unsettling, to say the least. I had my first therapy appointment last week, and I think it actually went well. I haven't been to therapy since I was in school, so I was very nervous to begin with, but my therapist is a very lovely lady who helped me understand that Mary's lies were her own making, and I had nothing to do with their creation. A lot of people said she was probably a compulsive liar, maybe even a narcissist, and she seemed to agree loosely with that idea from what she had heard. In yet another revelation, I met with Jane for coffee as she had asked me to meet up and clear up some details. She told me she had been wondering about why Mary would make me the target of her abuse story and started asking people in her office about the things Mary had said about me in the past. One that stood out was a painter. They worked in art restoration and distribution, who used his art as a means of channeling his traumatic history with his abusive stepmother. Apparently, Mary had taken quite a liking to him, and so she had first told him about her abuse as a way of getting closer to him. She had mentioned fancying him in the past, but I didn't think she'd go to such lengths to create a connection between them. He had been furious when he heard the truth, and now doesn't speak to her anymore. Jane told me not many people do now. They were all now worried that she would make up stuff about them and get them in trouble at work, so they are keeping her at an arm's length as a result. I felt a bit bad when I heard this, as I know that Mary is having a miserable time with our friendship group kicking her out as well. Jane apologized to me, but I told her she had nothing to be sorry about, that this was all Mary, and she was only trying to protect what she thought was an abused friend. We left each other on good terms, but we don't have much in common, so I doubt we'll be friends in the future. Claire came to stay with me for a bit, which has helped with the loneliness a little. It's hard to be alone after having someone practically attached to your hip with you for so long. Thank you to you guys who left such kind messages in the comments, many of which were very helpful. I am so thankful to all of you for your words of advice and comfort that you have given me. It's made a shitty situation so much better to know there are people out there who have been through the same thing and offer words of encouragement to lost things like me. Thank you, everybody. Am I the asshole for telling my friend she is spoiled? We are both 17 female. I visited my friend yesterday. We were helping each other study. We ended up talking, and we were on the same subject of what we were planning to do this weekend. I told her that Mum and Dad were planning a movie night where we watched movies together at home and chilled. It's pretty nice, actually. She looked upset, and then she started bragging about a new TV that her parents had bought her. It was pretty huge. She said she wanted a bigger one, and I joked that she was spoiled. This was all in good fun. I have called her spoiled before, and she usually just grins and agrees with me. She seemed really upset, and she even seemed to blink away some tears, and she then was pretty quiet and moody while I was there. I apologized, but it made her even more upset. I know, something I said probably hurt her a lot. I am usually a bit nervous around her. She is just very sociable and pretty, and she always knows exactly the right thing to say. Actually, I am very nervous around her. Lol. So all this made me really awkward, and I don't know if I did something more to hurt her. I feel like an asshole because I think I may have hit a sore spot here. I know she's fighting a lot with her parents, and I feel I'm an asshole because I brought my parents up in the first place. I shouldn't have done that at all. Now in the comments, you're the asshole, albeit an unwitting one. She's not spoiled, she's deprived of emotional affection. Her parents would rather buy her a giant TV than just have a loving movie night with their daughter. Being socially adept is not the same thing as being emotionally healthy. OP replies, damn. She doesn't talk about her parents, but from what I have seen and what she has told me, I think you're right. It just sucks. She is really affectionate and she's a hugger, and when we were talking about the pandemic, she said she missed hugging people. I don't know, she's really affectionate. She randomly holds my hand and it's really nice. It just sucks that someone so affectionate doesn't have parents who are. I'm saying in the gentlest way possible, could you maybe invite her over for movie night with your parents or a sleepover? That way she's not alone. No assholes here, by the way. And OP says, I think this is a good idea, but I don't know if movie night will work. But maybe I will invite her along to some other activity with my family. And yeah, thanks. Sleepover also sounds great. No assholes here. She is jealous of you, of your relationship with your parents. Her parents buy her presents rather than giving her the attention and emotional support she wants and needs. Try to be there for her, as a friend. She'll need your support if you're able to give it. You're the asshole, but only in a slight way. There is a saying that many a truth is said in jest. You were joking about her being spoiled, but it's because you do feel that way, and you were probably a little jealous about it, which is okay. The thing is, this is your friend. So unless she's being a real jerk about something that needs to be called out, your best response is just, that's nice. People brag about material things because they're insecure about their other qualities. Now, if you feel like she's a jerk most of the time, then that's different. But if you really like her and she's your friend, then it means accepting some of the less flattering qualities about her. And now on to the update. So yeah, I was the asshole. I should have read the room better and not made that unfortunate joke. I apologized and said she was not spoiled. She shrugged it off and said it was not a big deal. I said if she wanted to talk about anything, I would listen. She said she was not ready to talk about it yet. One commenter had asked me if my friend was into me, and my first thoughts were, I really hope she is. I haven't stopped thinking about it. I realized I liked her. It is confusing, and I really don't have a label for myself. Like, I know I'm into boys, but I'm not attracted to girls in the same way. I think I'm demi? I looked it up and yeah, we've gotten really close in the last 6 months, and I wanted to be her best friend. I'm not, by the way. And hell, I wanted to be more than her best friend. One really kind Redditor suggested I figure out if she was into girls. I shared some of the things we did with this Redditor, and she said it was possible that she was making a move. I sent my friend a video about Blake Lively. She has joked about being jealous of Ryan Reynolds before. She was gushing on about her, and I teased her about it. She said she was into girls, and then a bit later, I said I thought I was into girls too. She left me on red for 10 minutes before calling me, and we confessed feelings. I have a date, lol. It's pretty scary how quickly things happened, but honestly, I am so glad that it did. I would have overthinked myself to the brink. We are going on a date. Anyway, I have a lot to figure out. Now in the comments, she left me on red for 10 minutes. I've been out of high school for over a decade, and this sentence still gave me a heart attack. Lol, that's why I have read receipts turned off. Others can't see when I see their text and vice versa. I think it's much better this way. Read receipts are the absolute worst social invention of the last decade. My now wife and I had a long-distance relationship for a year whilst I was attending uni. I came in from my classes after pulling an all-nighter on my assignment, logged into the laptop on my desk, then crashed out on the bed and slept for 4 hours. I woke up to a series of escalating Facebook messages from her as she got increasingly furious that I was reading her messages and ignoring them. Turned out that having my laptop open on the messages screen meant that she was getting read receipts whilst I was blissfully unconscious. It took a while to convince her that I hadn't been playing some stupid game with her feelings. And another comment says, of all the possible outcomes I thought of, hidden feelings and a lesbian crush were not on my list. You go, girls. And OP replies, same, I didn't realize I was crazy over her until someone asked me if she had feelings for me, and my brain went overdrive wishing she had feelings for me. As a queer, it was the first thing I thought of. We are so awkward. And OP replies to that, I am awkward, so she made a move on me, and it felt so good that my mind was obsessing over not ruining it, and when I didn't do anything, she thought I was straight, lol. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for asking for either my PS4 or $1,000 from my brother during his time of need? I, 19 female, very avidly play video games. To give you an idea of how passionate I am about them, I'm currently going to college for video game development and computer science, and most people know that playing video games has become a pretty expensive hobby. So back when I was a preteen, I received a PS4 as a Christmas gift from my dad. I had to pay for all games and anything extra, but that's okay. So I've bought tons of games and have probably spent nearly $1,000 in games and DLC, all from my own pocket. A few years ago, my older brother, 25 male, started liking video games too. So he began using my PS4 regularly, to the point that he used it more than even I did. We began splitting the prices of games we wanted to play, and it made it easier on both of us doing that. Here is where the issue comes in. My brother had been living at home for a couple years while he went to a community college in our hometown, but a couple years back, he moved several hours away to attend a different college. When he did that, he took the PS4 with him. I was not made aware of this until he had already moved out. I came back home one day from a friend's house to find that the console, controllers, and all of the games were missing. Turned out he lied to our mum that I had given him permission to take it. Turns out, his girlfriend had apparently taken a liking to The Sims 4 and played it pretty much non-stop on our PS4, and he wanted to make her happy. I made the decision that once he graduated and worked full-time, that I'd ask for him to either return the PS4 and all games, controllers, and game drivers, or to reimburse me for it. Now the time has come. He graduated months ago and ended up landing a great paying job. So I finally took the time and asked him what I stated in the previous paragraph. He ended up going off and cursing me out. Apparently, his girlfriend decided to become a stay-at-home wife, and he's paying the bills. He thought I was aware of this, so he was super upset that I'd be such a greedy bear in his time of need. I told him that he didn't have to give me money if he just gave back what was mine, and if he did give me money, I didn't need it right now, nor in a single payment. But he said that his girlfriend was super attached to it, so he couldn't do that to her. We argued more before he ended up hanging up and blocking me on everything. The reaction was so extreme that I'm wondering if I was wrong. I didn't realize he was having financial issues, but I guess I should have been more in the know, considering his family. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I probably shouldn't be asking for something so expensive while my brother is having financial hardships, especially considering that I didn't actually pay for the PS4 itself since it was a gift. Now in the comments, not the asshole. That PS4 is your property, so you have every right to demand it back. Whether or not he can, or apparently wants to afford a replacement PS4 is a him problem, not a you problem, and changes nothing. Not the asshole, but if your brother has had it in possession for a few years, I don't think you'd have any ground to stand on. Do you by chance have receipts of the games bought, or for the console itself? Small claims might work, but it seems too much effort in my opinion. I would just lock your PlayStation Network account and enable two-factor authentication as others have suggested, and then get a new console. And now back up to the post. Edit. Just found out he lied about the financial hardships. I talked to some family members and found out that the only bills he pays is the electric bill because he's living in my grandfather's old home. I will be calling from my mum's phone tomorrow to let him know that I'm taking him to a small claims court. Thank you, everyone. Edit 2. I had a lot of people confused as to why I waited until he graduated to ask for my PS4 back. I didn't include some info in the post because I hit my character limit. I did ask for it back immediately after it was stolen, and we ended up coming to an agreement that we'd switch off having the PS4 each month. After a few months of doing this, he stopped bringing it back. I realized I was not going to get it back unless he could buy himself his own PS4 and games. So the PS4 was truly only missing for a year. Final edits. A ton of stuff has happened today, and I can happily say that I'll be getting my PS4 back tomorrow. Sadly, I can't post the full crazy update until this post is taken off of the front page. Once it is, I will be contacting the mods for permission to post a full update. And now onto the update. I was not expecting to be delivering a final update to all of you so soon after my original post, nor did I expect the post to get so much attention and support. I was ruled as not the arsehole, and it made me realize how much of a pushover I've been to my brother. It took many comments encouraging me to take action that finally convinced me to take back what is mine. And now I can very proudly say that we have won. The day after I originally made my post was pretty crazy. I took the advice of many Redditors to threaten to take my brother to a small claims court. So that morning, I called my brother through my mum's phone to let him know that I'll be taking him to a small claims court. He did answer, but he laughed off my claim and hung up. This is where I decided to take another Redditor's recommendation of getting my family involved. For those of you who are unaware, my brother currently lives in the house that my grandfather owns. He basically lives there for free and only has to pay electric. So I called my grandfather, and he was livid. He told me not to worry about anything and that he would handle it. I got off the phone with my grandfather, and I got a call from my brother about half an hour later. My brother said he would bring the PS4 and all the accessories to my apartment on Sunday, but I ended up heeding the advice of a Redditor and put down my own terms. I told him that I expected it at my house tomorrow after he got home from work, and that I'd be recording the exchange if he tried something funny. Thank you to another Redditor for that. About an hour after, I texted my brother's girlfriend the question that many people were wondering. Did she know that he stole it from me? The answer is luckily no. She did not know that it was stolen from me. Weirdly, she did know it was stolen, but she thought it was stolen from one of his friends that he used to smoke with. After we talked, she offered to take all of my belongings to my aunt's house for safekeeping until she could drive it over to me when she goes on a trip upstate, since I live about 2 hours away. I will be recording her as well, even if I trust her a bit more. And for those wondering, what did my grandpa do to my brother to make him change up his act so quick? He gave my brother 30 days to move out before he kicked him out, but the real kicker was that he threatened to take my brother out of his will. Keep in mind that this was not the first time my brother has been a snake to a family member. This just happened to finally be the breaking point. So my brother finally got what was coming to him. He lost the PS4, all of the accessories, his home, and me. So there it is, everyone. The surprisingly short end to our endeavor. This could not have been possible without the support, advice, and judgment that all of the kind people on this subreddit have provided me. Cheers to our victory, my friends. And P.S., I have had a lot of people upset that I ruined the relationship with my brother and got him kicked out over an old console. This is not the first time my brother has stolen from me or from other people. He has stolen jewelry, electronics, and money from my wallet so that he could buy drugs or weed. Not only that, he has always been hostile to me and is nothing like a brother to me. I have 3 more siblings, so I know what a good sibling relationship looks like. That's why I don't plan on continuing my relationship with him. It's not just about the PS4. And he has done things to several other family members and my grandfather, who my brother currently lives in the house of. My brother had several warnings from my grandpa and was going to be kicked out if he pulled something again. The PS4 situation was just the breaking point for all of this. Hopefully that cleared up any confusion. Now in the comments, yikes, his girlfriend knew it was stolen and was just cool with it so she can play a game. Sounds like they are meant for each other. Good job on getting your stuff back. You don't steal from family and expect it to be okay. And OP replies, definitely made me feel weird. I was happy that she didn't know it was stolen from me, but I really didn't like how she had no qualms about the fact that it was stolen. She's dating your brother, so I assume she knows these things about him and has no real problem with them. OP replies, yeah, I guess toxic people attract other toxic people. Would I be the asshole if I uninvited a friend from a party because of her hygiene? My friend Addie has always had a slight smell. She lives a bohemian lifestyle. As a result, she doesn't always have a reliable place to do laundry or shower. She's a fun person to hang out with, so I just accepted it as one of her many quirks. However, within the past 8 weeks or so, the smell has become much worse. It's an intense, musty odor that fills whatever small place we're in and sticks to any cloth she comes into contact with. For example, if Addie sat on my bed, I'll have to strip the sheets to wash after she leaves, or the smell will stay in the room. The last time she came over, my housemates complained that the smell drifted all the way downstairs from my room. Now that Addie's problem is affecting other people in my life, I have to acknowledge it. Because the issue got worse within the past few months, it could be signs of a health issue, physical or mental. I don't know how I could ever bring up the smell with Addie herself. How can you broach a subject like that without utterly embarrassing the person? So, the asshole part. Months ago, before the smell got worse, I invited Addie to a party that I'm hosting. Now I'm concerned that her hygiene issues will impact the enjoyment of my other guests. Do I lie and tell her that it's cancelled or postponed, and still hold it for my other friends? Or do I address the issue directly? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I'm lying or excluding my friend from social activities based on a characteristic I'm not sure that she's aware of or responsible for. Now in the comments, she's your friend, and since it sounds like you care about her, don't be afraid to have the tough convo, not the asshole. Tell her the truth, offer her your shower and laundry, be a good friend. You would be the asshole if you uninvite her without explaining why. It's not hard to take a shower. If the both of you care enough about each other to want to continue to be friends, it is not hard to find a compromise that both of you will like. You just need to communicate. Perhaps you can invite her to show up earlier to shower at your place. It is surely less embarrassing for her if you talk to her about it in private, compared to her embarrassing herself to everyone who smells her and not even knowing about it. Not the asshole. You do not need to tell her the truth though. There is no helping her if you ignore it or lie to her. Have you ever offered to let her use your facilities? The shower, the washer, and dryer. Maybe start there like, hey Addie, not trying to make you upset or anything, but I noticed you have some odor, and I wanted to let you know if it's because you're having trouble getting a place to get clean, you are more than welcome to use my shower and washer. And if she dismisses it and doesn't change, be less nice and more firm. If this girl matters to you and you want to stay friends, you can't ignore her lack of hygiene. No assholes here, but you need to face your fear of confrontation and talk to her. Go to r/relationship advice if you need help figuring out what to say or how to say it. And back up to the post, edit. Thank you to everyone who gave me the honest assessment that yes, I would indeed be the arsehole if I excluded my friend without explanation. I have a tough and uncomfortable conversation ahead of me, but it's one that needs to happen. Thanks especially to those that offered gentle talking points. I sincerely hope the issue isn't a symptom of something that requires treatment. If it is, then it's better to bring it up sooner rather than never. If it isn't, and just a matter of having access to cleaning facilities, I'll check with my housemates before opening an invitation for Addie to use my own. Thanks to everyone for your frank advice. It is much appreciated. And now on to the update. I followed Reddit's advice and took the issue to my friend directly. I asked Addie to meet at a coffee house, so we were on neutral ground. I decided to bring it up closer to the end of our meeting so she didn't feel awkward through the rest of our catch-up. I said, hey, I need to talk to you. Something has changed in the past few weeks, and I wanted to make sure that you're okay. I've noticed a strong smell. Do you have a place to shower or do laundry? Do you need help? And I let her know that I felt the need to bring it up because I care for her, and as friends, we need to look out for each other. Addie was, as expected, mortified. It really hurt to see her so distressed. She apologized several times for causing me discomfort. She really is too nice. She assured me that she did have access to those facilities and didn't know what the cause of the smell might be. Because she was assertive about wanting to solve this problem, I offered that maybe it was the new clothes that she thrifted. Some garments require special care, like dry cleaning. Addie said that was possible and assured me that she was going to start working on a solution as soon as we said goodbye. It was predictably awkward after this news broke. When I left, I was sure I lost a friend. But since then, we've been texting jokes and personal updates as per usual, so I think we are okay. As for the problem, I don't know if it's been put to rest quite yet. We both got new jobs recently, and we won't be able to see each other until right before the party. I should probably have another brief coffee date before then to see if Addie's solution worked. But now that the subject has been breached, I feel better about bringing it up in the future if needed, especially because Addie will know where I'm coming from, a place of love and concern. Thanks to everyone for your frank assessments before and your very helpful advice. I'm really glad I listened. And another update, I saw Addie recently and the smell is gone. She asked me if I could still detect it, and when I said I didn't, told me that she had laundered her entire wardrobe. So it seems the issue was indeed laundry-based. We are both really excited for the party, and I'm so glad that she'll be there. I think in a weird way, being honest about the situation actually made us closer as friends. Thanks again, everyone. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for kicking my friend out of my party after she had sex in the bathroom? So basically, I rented out a nice venue, plus catering and drinks, for my birthday party, and while we were partying, I noticed one of my friends and her boyfriend had disappeared for a while. I asked if anyone knew where they were, and people just shrugged. About 10 to 15 minutes later, my friend and her boyfriend emerged from the bathroom looking quite disheveled. I don't know how else to put it, but they looked flushed and their hair was a bit messy. So I took my friend to the side and asked her point blank if she had had bathroom sex with her boyfriend just now. And she looked shocked at me and said, "How could you tell?" I just rolled my eyes and said, "It wasn't that hard to put together." Then I kinda waited for a moment for her to apologize, and she didn't. And I said, "Are you going to say sorry?" Then she basically said that she had nothing to be sorry about, and what she did didn't affect the party at all. I was a bit drunk, so I ended up getting mad at her and asking her and her boyfriend to leave immediately. I personally don't think I was wrong to be annoyed, but my other friends implied I was overreacting by getting so angry and kicking them out. Also, in my defense, the party was almost over anyway. It ended about an hour later. The next day, I did feel a bit bad about my outburst, but I can't help but think I never would have done something like that at someone else's party. Am I the asshole? Additional info not initially included. 1. There were 14 people total there. Yes, including my parents. Everyone else is in their early to mid-20s. 2. This took place at a venue meant for smallish events in a hotel, catered by the restaurant within the hotel. 3. The bathroom was the restaurant's bathroom, not a private one for the event. And 4. It was definitely not a booze-filled rager, but also not a super fancy dinner. I was wearing my nicest shirt and pants, but not a suit and tuxedo, if that helps. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I kicked my friend and her boyfriend out of my party. 2. I might have overreacted too much due to alcohol plus feelings and expected an apology for something that wasn't that bad of a transgression. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. People bang in bathrooms at booze-fueled parties, try saying that 10 times fast. It is just a fact of life. If they weren't caught by staff or causing a scene, then what's the big deal really? OP's place, OP's rules. It wasn't OP's place though, it was just a venue. Rented by OP, hence for all intents and purposes, OP's place. I don't know. It seems to me OP should just mind her business and enjoy her party. I don't think it would really affect the party itself. Same. I would understand if the story was no one else could use the bathroom because they were screwing around, but that wasn't the story. Truly, who cares? They snuck off, had their fun, and then rejoined the party. If I caught my friends walking out all mussed up, I'd be like, so was it good? I'm wondering if OP has some religious background that's feeding into this, or maybe just self-righteous parents. For me, it's super weird to be angry that your friends got it on in the bathroom. They didn't actually affect the party. Everyone sucks here. Your friend probably shouldn't be screwing her boyfriend during a party in the bathroom, and you suck because you overreacted and turned it into a huge deal. If you didn't mention it, nobody would have cared, and the night would have continued on smoothly. Everyone sucks. Your friend just sucks in the bathroom. She was sucking something, alright. OP is just childish. Look, everyone, pay attention to me. If you're at a party enjoying yourself, would you notice someone missing for 10 minutes and then go looking for them? Like, that was the weirdest part. Someone isn't in the room for 10 to 15 minutes and you need to get involved? Were there only like 5 people there? If someone disappeared to poop for 10 to 15 minutes, would they have pitched the same fit? Probably not. OP seems pissed that there was fun that didn't revolve around them. Now further down in the comments, OP gives an edit, I guess? Alright, so after reading through everything, I'm getting the overall vibe that it was a bit rude for them to have sex in the bathroom, but overall, I am more so the asshole for my reaction. I will be apologizing to my friend for my outburst and drunkenness. Thank you all for the comments. Feel free to continue discussing, but this is my general takeaway. I think the main reason I was upset was quite selfish in that I felt like they had disrespected my birthday party by going off to have sex. I see now that this action could be interpreted many ways, including that they were just having a lot of fun. For those who mentioned the public indecency aspect, to be honest, I never even thought about losing my deposit, although I guess this could have happened. Another clarification, it wasn't just 10 to 15 minutes. It was 10 to 15 minutes after someone noticed they had been gone for a while and told me. Frankly, I don't know how long they were actually gone for, and my sense of time might not be that accurate due to the alcohol. More info about the venue. The venue was a private room in a hotel that is attached to a restaurant. The bathroom was the restaurant, so any of their patrons and employees could have walked in on it, but according to my knowledge, this didn't happen. And back up to the post, edit. Didn't know I could do this, but I'll update with what happened. After going through most of the comments, I came to the conclusion that both of us had been assholes, but I was the bigger one, so I called her to apologize. For those who suggested that either of us should cut the other one off, let this be a lesson that acting messy while drunk is no reason to end a good friendship. The outcome is, we made up. We agreed that neither of us would have done what we did if we hadn't been drinking. It was also the first real party we've had in over a year due to the pandemic, so maybe that affected my behavior badly. Both of us apologized, and I also showed her this thread. I can't believe this blew up so much. It seems that having sex in the bathroom during a party is some kind of litmus test. I don't know what for though. Surprising revelations from her side of the story, they were having makeup sex. She estimates that they were gone for about 40 minutes. Within that time, they had had a huge argument in the bathroom and made up by hooking up. She thinks a waiter came in and heard them, but she's not sure. Random thought, this whole ordeal would have made some great reality TV. Note, I know that many people will not read this, but I did not tell everyone at the party that I kicked them out. I said they decided to leave early, and then afterwards, I told 3 friends what actually happened. These are the friends who told me I overreacted. Turns out, they were right. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my soon-to-be mother-in-law that my engagement ring is cursed? I, female 26, just got engaged. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is a nightmare. We are currently renovating a part of our place, and she has been lent a key in the meantime because she keeps coming over uninvited under the guise of helping clean up. But she really just likes to snoop and interfere. I do a martial art and take my engagement ring off before class. I came home from an afternoon class one day, and my engagement ring was not in the jewelry dish that I usually leave it in. I asked her about it, and she told me that she had taken it to a jeweler to get it cleaned. She looked super smug about it, and when I asked which jeweler, she pretended she couldn't remember. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of having a reaction, so I just let it slide for a couple of days. A couple of days pass, and I ask her about it again, and she's super vague, still pretending she can't remember which jeweler, and saying she's too busy to pick it up anytime soon. So I said, wow, I really feel for that jeweler. Hope nothing happens to her. She asked what I meant, and I told her that my superstitious Brazilian grandmother had performed some traditional ritual on it that's usually known to curse anyone who takes or handles the ring other than the owner. She looked uneasy and asked me a couple more questions about this ritual, and I made some story up about how my mother's ring had been taken by a burglar who was crushed by a pillar of cement on his way out of the house. I totally made this entire ritual up, and I do have a Brazilian grandmother, but obviously she did not do some ritual to my ring. The next day, my fiancé told me while I was out that she was there to clean up a bit. Lo and behold, I get home. She had already left, and I find my ring where I had left it. It didn't look any cleaner than it had before. A week later, I received an abusive call from her saying that she had been in a minor car accident and she was blaming me and my witch doctor grandmother, saying she was now cursed for having touched it. I passed the phone to my fiancé, who tried to calm her down, but she was hysterical. I told my fiancé what I had told her, and he scolded me a bit because we both know how she is, and I should have known that she'd react this sort of way. It's been a further week since then, and she refuses to talk to me and keeps slandering me to my fiancé. Overall, he sort of recognizes how ridiculous she is being, but the drama of the situation is making me wonder if the whole curse tale was taking it a bit too far. So am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. That is hilarious. The nerve of her taking your ring. She deserves the curse. I'm just sorry it's causing trouble for you. I kind of think your fiancé earned it by tolerating her behavior and not having changed the locks already. Also, have you checked your ring? I don't understand why she'd take it unless it was to keep it away from you. Does she disapprove of the engagement, or of you taking it off even if it's for a good reason? Was she going to swap stones or claim to have lost it? I really need to know her motivation for taking it. You might want to come clean before she meets your grandmother at the wedding though. And OP replies, she has never vocally disagreed with the engagement, but she has definitely interfered. I personally think it was just to mess with me or keep it from me. I really don't know. I don't think she ever even took it to a jeweler, to be honest. She didn't take it to the jeweler. She took it because she's a thief. That's a whole nother issue that you need to resolve, starting with changing the locks. Also, you and your fiancé need to figure out how to stop her from messing with you, or else this will be a strain on your entire marriage, especially if you have children. However, don't beat superstition with logic. You beat it with more superstition. You need to get your mother-in-law to believe that she personally lifted the curse so you could all move on with your lives. Tell your mother-in-law that you spoke to your grandmother to get clarity on the curse. Personally, I would tell your mother-in-law that grandma said that the curse only applies to thieves, so you don't know why mother-in-law is so convinced she's cursed, especially since she only took it to be cleaned. And grandma told you the secret antidote only because you were family. And then give her a procedure to do that's not too crazy, but crazy enough that you can enjoy yourself, knowing that she is totally going to do it again. Again, the point is to get your mother-in-law to believe that the curse has been lifted. Although I would add that the grandma said the thief has to apologize for stealing, but that might be more trouble than it's worth. Maybe make your mother-in-law believe that she has to bathe in goat's milk and pine cones after chanting the counterspell, which can be something random that you write in Portuguese. Just bear in mind that if grandma is planning on coming to the wedding, you need to play interception or at least warn her beforehand. All joking aside, you and your husband need to plan interference with how his mother is treating you, otherwise this really could negatively affect your relationship. Good luck, and please update us. Not the asshole. She stole your engagement ring. Making up a story is the least you could have done to her. Especially when she clearly made up the story about the cleaning. I've had my engagement ring cleaned. It takes 2 minutes, and you definitely don't need to leave it at the jeweler. To play devil's advocate, there can be much more extensive cleaning that involves taking the stones out of their setting and cleaning them and polishing the metal. I just took my ring to a jeweler to have it deep cleaned. She reset it and even expanded the hole for more light to reflect. At first, I didn't even think it was my stone. But this is a local jeweler who I've known for decades. Places like K Jewelry and Jared's don't usually deep clean rings. Well, how long did the jeweler have your ring? OP sounds like her ring was at the jeweler for at least 10 days and came back uncleaned. I dropped it off on the 9th of October and picked it up on the 20th, so 11 days. But mine definitely came back clean and sparkling like new. And now back up to the post, there is an update. I really did not expect this sort of response to this post. Thank you all so much for the awards. Fiancé and I have had a big chat, and he's admitted that he has to step up when it comes to his mother. He retrieved her key an hour ago, and he told her not to worry about the curse because it would have no effect on anyone who touched it without malicious intent. Big thank you to the commenters who suggested that absolutely gold approach. And that is where I'm going to leave the episode today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who saw my post, it was my 24th birthday the other day. Had a lovely time, had a great day out with friends and family. I would also hope that you guys had a great weekend as well. That's all I really have to say on this one, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.